All right. Now 3 Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific. So first off, I want to thank everybody for joining today's TMC Connect web broadcast titled NMLS and Compliance Training in a Remote Setting, talking about hurdles and solutions in this environment. David, go ahead and transfer to the next slide. So before we jump into today's discussion, just want to go through a couple housekeeping items for the call and remind attendees, first and foremost, continue to check out our TMC Connect and Mortgage Collaborative member event calendar pages on our website, as it'll show a schedule of upcoming TMC Connect broadcasts. Just finished a great discussion with our friends at Emergent. And as I mentioned on that call, we've got 8 sessions queued up in total for this week. But I encourage you to keep checking in, as we will continue to add new sessions based on the feedback from our members, is what the biggest hot buttons are out there that we can be tackling with different subject matter experts that we have and with the Mortgage Collaborative Network. Also want to encourage our members on the line to check out pair of TMC member benefits. First, you've got Ask TMC, which is our message board forum. Basically provides resources for any questions you may have about your operation and to leverage the collective brain power of the collaborative network to help with those inquiries. And this can be accessible either via Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as the message board. And also there's TMC Benchmark, which provides our lender members over 40 key performance indicators on a monthly basis, helps provide actionable insights to help run their businesses more effectively and more profitably. And most notably, it is a complimentary benefit of membership with TMC. Before we jump into the discussion, as far as rules of engagement go for today's call, first and foremost, if you've dialed in or if you're connected via your computer, all lines have been muted for the call, and this is done only to avoid any background noise in your area. So we want to ensure that everybody can hear today's presentation very clearly. We want these discussions to be as interactive as possible, so please submit any questions that you have for our discussion leaders throughout the call today, and we will go ahead and verbalize those as they come in, or can save them to the latter part of the discussion, but they will get addressed. So please don't feel like you have to hold off till the end of the call to address those questions that you may have. And about those questions, you can submit those either via the chat function or the Q&A box, both of which are accessible at the bottom menu of your Zoom screen. And then as far as today's call goes, it will be recorded and will be accessible for playback. You will receive instructions as far as the link to the download or to the recording goes, as well as a copy of the presentation deck, and those will be distributed to all attendees in today's call and part of a follow-up email that you'll receive tomorrow. So as far as leading today's discussion, we have from our esteemed preferred partner, mortgageeducation.com, which is TMC's preferred provider in the network for CE, PE, as well as compliance education courses. We have President Tycho Rosenfeld. Hey, Tycho.
How's everyone? Welcome.
Doing well today. Also helping lead the discussion, we have the Chief Operating Officer, Chuck Pollard. How you doing, Chuck?
Doing great, thanks.
Thank you. And then also guiding our discussion today is National Director of Business Development, Dave Olchak. How's it going, Dave?
Good, good. Hello, everybody.
Well, before we jump in, I just want to thank you, each of you at the beginning here, for taking time out of your busy schedules to help lead today's discussion for the benefit of our members at TMC. And a combination of Tycho, Dave, and Chuck are going to discuss some of the hurdles and solutions available to make it easier to remain compliant, as it relates to the mandatory annual training in this remote environment that we're all currently living in. So in that note, I'm going to turn it over to Dave to kick things off. Dave, the floor is yours.
All right. Well, again, thanks everybody for coming along and joining us to talk about NMLS compliance training. And we're going to try to focus a little bit on not just the compliance training and NMLS training, but what kind of tools you might have available to work with your teams in a remote environment. Myself, I've been in the business for over 25 years. Uniquely, I've actually managed remote sales teams almost the entirety of my career. So I have a little bit of a perspective on working with people that are in an at-home environment. A little different on the sales side, as you know, than when you're dealing with more staff personnel who are used to a bullpen. But we'll see if we can come up with some solutions and some new methods and ways to work with them, and some different kind of products that either we have available or that your provider for NMLS education has available to you. So as we start off, I want to talk about just NMLS training format really quickly. Well, we know there's live classrooms, or is there? We know they are not open to the public currently, or private in office at this moment. And the MBA conventions, well, I think that's a whole nother questionable area. So I think for the purposes of this conversation, we'll be speaking about webinars, and we'll be speaking about online, always available webinars, which can be either done publicly, where people log in, or they can be done for private organizations. And that's what we're gonna focus in. Okay. So we'll do that again for you. I can't hear anybody laughing. Compliance training. You know, when it's not one of the biggest topics that get rounds of applause from either staff or loan officers when you bring somebody in, call them and speak about compliance training, especially in this work-home environment. Now we're also dealing with distractions from family members and everything else that goes on when you're at an at-home environment. So there's always a resistance to compliance training. I want to talk about that a little bit first, because that's going to directly lead into discussions on solutions and what we can do. So first of all, the NMLS, and we'll divide this into NMLS training and compliance training that's mandated from an organization, you know, corporately mandated compliance training. NMLS requirements. So we know what it's like to get the loan officers to take their NMLS requirements. For some reason, we get really busy around the last week of the year. And it's because they feel they have time better spent. With a converse attitude on that would be the NMLS, who instituted BioSig. And what BioSig is a system that tries to make them remain at their desk for the allotted time, the 8 hours, 7 hours, or 8 hours plus the state hours that they have to be in their chair. So it's a battle between the NMLS, who wants them in their seat, and if you're not there and you're dormant for 6 minutes, they will sign you out, and the loan officer is trying to do their best to not sit there for the 8-hour period. And on the compliance side, how can you assign courses and assign the classwork and modules to your staff to take basically portions of their time that they have to be accountable for? And that's, I guess, one of the biggest challenges with work-at-home staff is without assigning tasks to them, it's very difficult to make them accountable for the hours. Another piece of the training resistance goes back to the NMLS side, and it has to do with redundancy. And we're going to talk a little bit about that a little bit more as we go on. We all know Dwight Schrute. So what we want to talk about is it's mandatory. There's no getting around compliance training. We have to do what is told by the corporation, the organization, your organization, who is there to protect the organization itself. You are responsible for compliance for your teams. Then there's the NMLS, and the loan officer is responsible, obviously, for the NMLS compliance. And if they don't comply, well, two things happen. Either one, it costs either you as an organization or themselves a lot more money to catch up the following year, or they cannot perform and close loans. So how do we determine what's required by the CFPB, by the regulators? Why are there redundancies between the CFPB, let's say, and between the NMLS, and what kind of methodologies might we have on training deadlines? So I came across an article in a compliance, mortgage compliance magazine. And what they were trying to do was spell out exactly what question we get asked, probably most commonly on the compliance side of it. And that question is, what does the CFPB want us to teach? What do they want us to train? Oh, this is really interesting. They don't outline it. And through the entire article and through the entire CFPB supervision and examination manual, which is what they utilize, they don't outline exactly what they want you to do. They provide you, like the game of Clue, with a board, but they don't tell you what you are actually looking to train. They use the word training 120 times in the manual, yet you won't find a single list of what type of training is required. Very interesting. It's funny, Chuck, who's on the line with us, our COO, pointed out to me this week that he had reread the 700-page manual for this year, and they actually mentioned training 177 times, which I thought was humorous on a lot of levels. And there's no magical list to tell companies what training the CFPB expects. And the reason is what they do is expect you to train people as to their job function and what the job function is. So when they come in and they do an audit, what they will do is they grade you on certain categories. Let's say you're talking about a COA. You'll get a grade between 1 and 5 on how well you are operating in terms of updated training, the amount of times you're training a year, if people are complying with that training, and if, everybody obviously should be doing a COA. If, let's say, you're a company that just originates mortgage loans, well, they're not going to grade you on the servicing portion of that. So I'm going to encourage you on this piece of it because it is such an ambiguous and vague part of what is required. We have Chuck, who is a specialist in this area, and we'll have him during Q&A jump in and speak to a couple of these things. So what do we do as an organization is we try to figure out exactly what are the courses that are most useful and most requested by our organizations. And that data comes from speaking to our clients. It comes from what we found that auditors have been looking for in their when they're complete in their audit completions and what they've really focused in on. And then there's also the universal bodies that look through the auditing process for compliance training, and they will actually come out yearly with recommendations on common topics. So common topics, we know we can all pretty much generally accept that fair lending on the CFPB side and anti-money laundering, these are two that we've pretty much seen are kind of cut in stone, if you would. All staff should probably be getting trained in AML and fair lending every year. And it's commonly believed, or commonly practiced that a lot of these other courses, so long as you're doing them, one of them every 2 years. So it's a course every 2 years. Let's, for instance, say fraud and HMDA. What you'd be able to do is say, okay, we'll do fraud this year and HMDA the next year. And that's how you put your courses out there. Now, here's the trick, is that regardless of a loan officer completing their NMLS training, they still must complete these for their CFPB and the other regulatory bodies. Yet, in the NMLS training, there is fair lending, there is anti-money laundering, and there's fraud, all these other different great things that we have in training. However, the CFPB and the state regulators, they're not very concerned with what the NMLS requires, nor is the NMLS concerned very much with what the regulating bodies, they each have their own rules on how they want you to perform. So we can soak this one in for a second. When we speak to our compliance teams and our compliance managers, we do yearly reviews with them. And what we can bring to them as products is one of the keys that they, I see Chuck popping up and laughing. One of the keys that we always hear, one of the key statements that our compliance managers will come out with is, I spend too much time on my job asking people, repeatedly asking them, and telling time and time again, do your homework, complete the courses I assigned to you. And that is what they do with a lot of their job. And it's unfortunate, but we're here to show you a couple of solutions that can actually help on the compliance team side and possibly help in managing a little bit of time again on the people that work at home, but also save some time and money and effort put forward by the different training solutions that we have and maybe your compliance vendor has as well. So let's talk about compliance tracking and really get into it. In this example, and I hope that your vendor for compliance has a similar tool to this. We show right here, we have 378 students that completed X number of courses, comes to 85%. And on this tracking, we could say, okay, if you're 85% complete, what we're looking at right here is NMLS compliance, because you can see the states going across the top. We know we're 85% complete, and if this is, I don't know, June of this year, I think you're doing pretty well. 85% complete, you don't have too much to worry about. Now, if it's November, you might have something to worry about, and you want to make sure that your people bringing that number up. And this is something that you can actually utilize a tool like a tracking program, like this one, to say, okay, let's track what our people are doing individually, let's track what they're doing as branches, and try to make sure that they're keeping their training up to date. The same can be done for compliance courses. On the compliance courses listed across the top here, you see the different courses that we offer. We have fair lending, AML, fraud, and a lot of these are by choice, what you would like to do and what your corporation mandates that not just loan officers but staff do. And you can utilize this by clicking on their names and saying, okay, I assigned these 5 courses. Let's call it the 5 right here. And a manager on a weekly basis, monthly basis, can go in and see if the homework was completed. You can print reports to this effect as well. So you actually have as a built-in tool to say, are you doing what we asked of you? Because frankly, we're a little tired of asking you to complete these things. Now, where we have found one of our greatest parts of the solutions is in what we call premium. And the premium portion of what we offer is a time savings and something that's really going to help out in terms of helping the compliance team reduce the number of calls and increase the amount of pull-through or adoption of the training that you do. So students, we already talked about tracking them here. Let's talk about the branches. You can actually, through these different tracking tools, assign branches to, let's say, your loan officers. You can do it on the compliance side, or you can do it on the NMLS side. We've had situations where we've had companies that are really low in their compliance. They just weren't listening, and they put contests up to the branch managers and said, we want everybody to be at X percentage by X date. So by the end of June, we want everybody to be at a minimum of 70% completion so that we don't have to deal with this at the end of the year when we get the end of the year rush. And if everybody's at that, maybe everybody gets a lunch pizza party, or perhaps if they don't come up to par, there's a penalty. And it could be a financial penalty, which one of the organizations did because their teams weren't complying. So you can go with a stick on it, you can go with a carrot. Either way, it's a great way to make sure that people are complying. An important part when we're talking about this compliance training is the siloing of the 2 different types of training that there are. The NMLS training in a lot of organizations is looked at as NMLS only. Are you completing your federal, your state hours? If you're adding states, are you doing your pre-licensure? And then you have the training we just spoke about, which is your CFPB type training, all the modules that we spoke about. And it's viewed very separately and differently. We have a program called Premium CE, and this will be speaking directly to one of our products because candidly, we're one of the only organizations that's offered this. One of the questions we will often get asked is, how fast can I do my 8-hour training? And I love that question. I love when we get asked, how fast can I do my 8-hour CE? Because obviously the answer is 8 hours. However, there was a way to actually possibly reduce this training. That's something that Tycho, our president, went after to see if it was possible, and it is. And what we were able to do with Premium CE is take the CFPB mandated courses that are overlapping in the NMLS courses. Primarily, we're speaking about fair lending, anti-money laundering, fraud, RESPA, privacy this year are the ones that we have included. And by basically making a couple of changes to the content that will cover both regulatory type bodies and adding quizzes, we can actually print compliance certificates that work not only for the NMLS hours that you have to put in, but you will actually have certificates available for the NMLS training. What that does is eliminates redundant training. It eliminates the necessity to have to purchase additional modules that are already in one of the trainings. So you're doing duplicative tracking, you're doing duplicative audit prep. And the tracking is ineffectual because you have 2 separate bodies, 2 separate silos going after the tracking. Unnecessary costs, unnecessary training hours. And we will tell you this, that I don't know what your all experience is with loan officers, but when you tell them that we have an opportunity for you to do less training, it seems to get a very, very good reception. And we have quite a number of TMC members who are utilizing the product, and they just think it's fantastic. From the loan officer side, where we're talking about less training, from the COO side, where you're reducing costs, and primarily from the compliance team side, who has to deal with the tracking itself. So mandatory training, why does it get such resistance? This is the product right here. People, I guess there's a lot of people on this call have been taking fair lending, probably 20 years in the business. And every year you've taken a fair lending course. Then you've taken it in your NMLS training if you happen to be on the origination side as well. So you've taken hundreds of hours of the anti-money laundering class. And I'm not going to be too repetitive on this because I just went through it, but here's a visual for you on what Premium does for you. Premium takes those 5 certificates, these 5 certificates from the NMLS, cross-certifies them, and now it eliminates that redundant training. Here's the great thing about it with the tracking piece of this and why the compliance teams absolutely love this and why we can do a cost reduction. In the case that a loan officer purchases training from us, an 8-hour CE course, what they will see on this screen, on their compliance tracker screen, is they purchase the course and they would have right here, DCOA, AML, fraud, Respiratola, they would have 5 red check boxes because they do not have certificates of completion in those courses. Once they complete their 8 hours, these all will turn green. Not only will they turn green, but they will actually get certificates available to them that can be printed off and put into a booklet for an auditor. And we'll talk about that for a second. When it comes to the reporting piece, we have a great reporting platform. This can be used for the managers, again, to make the accountability of people that are doing their training, to take the pressure off a compliance team, because it's really not fair that come December 15th of every year, your job gets harder while everyone else is going to office Christmas parties. And you can make them more accountable to reporting. We have an organization that we work with right now who was asked by an auditor in Massachusetts. They came in and said, we want to see the certificates for all of the students training on AML and fair lending, for all of your loan officers and all of your staff. The organization didn't keep the actual certificates, and the auditor wanted the certificates. And they had to race around for 2 weeks trying to locate as many of these certificates that they could, and put them into an actual physical book and hand them to the auditor. With our training and our program, our portal, you can actually click, and in a matter of 4 clicks, a half hour later in the PDF format, you'll have every certificate for anybody that either took the compliance course with us or that took Premium CE with us, because that automatically includes those compliance courses. I wanted to throw this on because as an explanation of our product particularly, because when it comes to onboarding a product like ours, there's a lot of common questions obviously on how you operate. Some organizations will pay for training for their, well, most will pay for training for the staff, but some will pay for training for loan officers. Some will pay for training for some loan officers or some management teams. Some have MLOs ordered directly. The ways that we operate is we can do a full enterprise onboard. We fully onboard your staff and your MLOs. We load in all of the courses that are required, that are not only the compliance courses that are included in the premium, but any other additional courses that you might like. We also load the staff as well, and that's very simple. A lot of times companies, especially when you're dealing with branches, when we're dealing in the branch environment, a lot of companies will want the MLOs to go what I call self-directed, and they want them to order on their own. That way, you know, it doesn't affect the P&L of the branch. Well, we have a system to do this where you actually can combine the Premium CE and have the loan officers choose their different states. This piece right here will automatically calculate the minimum number of hours that they need to be federally compliant and order themselves. They purchase it, and after they purchase it, they'll be added automatically into your portal, so you can track them from a corporate level, or the branches can track on a branch level. So it's a great tool that can actually help you come aboard without doing a full onboard of enterprise, but actually getting the best use of this product. But maybe if you want to not have the full expense of all of the loan officers, there's a multitude of ways that we can make this work. It's very flexible in how we go about doing this. So the mandatory training is complete. And I wanted to talk a little, I just wanted to invite Tycho in actually for a minute. And Tycho is going to speak a little bit about partnership versus provider. And it's something that's really important to mortgage education. And it's something, the way the whole business was built. So Tycho, are you with us?
I am.
Great.
And you can hear me. I want to emphasize what I feel is the most important part of our business, which is that we're a partner, not a provider. You can have MLOs go out and buy their own laptops from a computer from a provider, but the head of IT is going to say, no, we need something unified. I need security. I need them to be compliant. I need to be able to control them. We're not a provider of courses. Yes, we have all of the courses and all the formats, all of the states, Everything you would need as a corporate. We can do live or webinar or online at a turn of a dime. But we're a partner. We provide a tracking portal. We provide integrated compliance. We provide tools like a certificate printing book that corporations tell us, our clients tell us, we need this. And we have a full-time staff of programmers who make sure that that happens. So this is a whole different category than what you may be used to dealing with education providers. We truly want to partner with our clients. We listen to what our clients ask and we build accordingly. For example, a lot of what we do with our branch management is something that we've added because of an incentive that a client asked for, where they had their various branches competing against each other for who could finish their continuing education first, and they get a big steak dinner out of it. With what we had, we were able to offer a 1,000-person company a really good analysis of an incentive they provided for their MLOs, where they said you had to pay after October 31st. Before that, we'll fund you. Within those last 4 days, their usage went from 15% to full 65% of the total amount of education that they had out there. So 50% of their people were going through in those last 4 days, and they didn't know how useful that incentive was before they could see our tracking and see it in real time as it happened. We're used to this, and we're made and built. I've helped design this company for corporate clients. Last week, we ramped up a 2,000-person company in a week with all of their CE. We took it from the various NMLS information that you download, and they're all set to go. So this is our business. And Dave outlined a number of the key features. So thank you for listening so far. We're open for questions.
Yeah, I want to add one
thing. Hand it back to Dave.
I just want to add one thing, because I do know we have some compliance folks on the phone here, and that's our support system that Chuck has built. We have a full support team, chat, phone, email. I think we're down to about 11 or 12 minutes on answering support calls. Why is that important? Because it's our job when we're talking about corporate clients like yourselves to make sure that the calls for what's my login or what's my password aren't going to your desk. You have better things to do than try to find somebody's password. What I'm saying is we have a team there available to take those functions from you, which we should be doing. But yeah, let's take some questions. Tom, do you have any that have come up? Let's see.
Sorry about that delay there, Dave. Just taking me a second to pop my video back up. Actually, do have some questions coming in, and just want to thank you, and I want to thank Tycho for taking some time to explain really the value mortgage education looks to bring to the table as a partner to lending institutions and not just solely a provider to help fill your training needs. It's truly the ethos and the approach they bring to it. We've seen our members experience it already, and look forward to the opportunity for more to do so. So, as everybody mentioned, any questions coming in, now is the time to do so. We want to filter those directly through the chat window and Q&A function. And we'll go ahead and drive those forward to the team at mortgageeducation.com. First and foremost, have a question coming through asking if able to get a price list of services and solutions under your umbrella.
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that. We were going to keep, and I guess it's a good time, Tom, that I should bring up the TMC promotion. We try to keep it as non-salesy as possible to talk generally about compliance, but launched as of yesterday, we have a new program with TMC. And the program is going to include premium pricing for CE and we're going to be offering the premium portion of it for 2020 for free. And the reason we're doing that is we want to be able to get your loan officers to utilize us just like they would order from any other provider, or you'd onboard them as any other provider. At the end of the year, I could show you the certificate books that would have been available to you by their taking on those pieces. So if you want to talk this year, we have an early bird special for TMC members, and it's legitimately, it'll probably go about through to the summer. It's $39 on the 7 to 8 hour per loan officer, and we're going to throw in the premium CE. We haven't done anything like this before. It is strictly for the Mortgage Collaborative. And on staffing, it really depends on what you want, on what different modules. We can bundle those courses in any way that you'd like. You might want to add some courses or modules for the MLOs. So yes, the answer is reach out to me depending on your situation, how you want to do a full onboard of your company versus you want to have your loan officers order directly. The pricing will be different. But we are always at or below market. And when you take into account the premium piece, but not having to purchase those outside modules, it's far, far, far less that in every case that we've seen when you aggregate those two silos together than anybody that we've seen.
Appreciate you making mention of that, Dave. We're equally excited about this promotion and the value that our members and their originators and teams are going to be able to see from it. Probably see some more information coming out later this week from us at TMC via our social media feed. And then follow-up question to that inquiry, Dave. How can I get a list, or I'm sorry, can we get a sample or demo of the staffing compliance module?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we just put something together, and what we do on it, again, because the set, it's an infinite amount of compliance modules that can be done because we can also build them, which we have for people as they've wanted. So what we've done is taken the base core that I showed you on that slide with the different compliance pieces, and we've given explanations, short explanations of them, but we went into depth on, I believe, Chuck, it's the top 5, where we'll actually give you the full contents of those modules, a sample of the module. And by the way, I think it's important to mention, the modules are text, audio, and visual. So you're having all 3 mediums when the people are going through them. And we've done kind of a little video commercial for each of those 5 main modules. So yeah, that's already put together. And please reach out to me and we can get that over to you. One other point on this promotion, you can reach out to me, and if I showed you the page with TMC landing page. As members of the Mortgage Collaborative, we've already made landing pages for you with your logo on there for your loan officers to do direct orders. So that's also available.
Awesome. Another follow-up there, Dave. How long are most of the modules, i.e. 30 minutes?
Now, so the modules, if you're talking about the modules that are non-CFPB or the non-dual certified, a lot of times anywhere, let's say from 30 minutes to an hour, depending on how fast somebody goes through. When we're dealing with a module that's cross-certified, yeah, Chuck's going to jump in here. I know he's chomping at the bit too, so I'm just going to let him do that.
If they're embedded within if they're part of the premium CE package where they're counting for both NMLS and CE credit, they're a part of the course. And so we're going to follow very strictly to the seat time requirements and the biostate requirements of the NMLS. If they're the standalone staff ones, again, it's going to vary on how much of a topic there is to cover. So for instance, AML is a fairly substantial topic. Something like do not call is not. It's going to vary on how fast they can go through and answer the quizzes, etc. correctly. But normally the goal has always been around 30 minutes for most topics, 30 minutes or less for most.
Can I jump in here just for a second? Yeah, what Chuck said is right. However, a key part of this product is it's 0 time for the MLO who does premium CE for the modules that are available. Right? They've done their 8 hours. They put 0 time into the 5 courses that are incorporated into premium CE. Now your non-MLOs would do these compliance modules just as they normally would do compliance, and those are about 30 minutes each. The MLOs, they don't do anything. They save a few hours of work.
Yeah, two things on that real quick. Number one is, and you can dollarize this if you want, but if you have 100 MLOs and they're saving, let's call it 2.5 hours a year, it's quite a bit of time of redundant training that they're doing. And I just think it's an important point to drive home, that is direct time savings, direct for the MLOs. It goes over really well with them, and it goes over really well with compliance directors, because where you might be saying, do your AML, do your fraud, do your fair lending, you keep asking them to do all these products. Well, in a lot of cases, you can now say, do your CE, because once they complete CE, you don't have to ask them to do Respatilla fraud and these other 2 modules. It happens under one ask. So I like to say, one ask, 6 completions, CE plus the modules.
Excellent. Appreciate the feedback collectively, gentlemen. Another question coming in here. How do we make our platform work if our MLOs either order or pay for CE for themselves?
Excellent question. And it's one of the top questions that we get. That landing page that I showed you is a customized page for you to distribute to the loan officers. In the loan officer's eyes, and as a matter of fact, I don't know if I would like to show you this real quick. Okay.
Yeah, and you know what, Dave? It may even be worthwhile to, and we can work on this offline, but to share this as an additional standalone to the deck, just because it is so important regarding the promotion.
Right. Yes, it is. And you can, again, have your logo here. These are already prepared for you. But it says right here, utilizing this preferred provider may make you eligible for reduction in additional training modules. So how do most of our companies that are operating, we had one company that didn't really push it. And then all of a sudden at the end of the year, the loan officers were going to the cheapest person out there. It was somebody we couldn't touch on price. And none of them, we got a small percentage that utilized this for training. And at the end of the year, the compliance team had to add 5 modules to these loan officers. So the loan officers might have saved themselves $5, and now they have 2.5 hours of training to do. So it's kind of a no-brainer. And we say, may make you eligible, because really it's up to you as a, we can't tell you as an organization what you want to do. But yes, this is how we do it. When it comes to the cost, we determine what the cost is. You could literally bring the cost down for your MLOs to $10. By clicking these buttons, it would be $10 a course. You would be covering the difference. Or bring the cost above, and you can actually have a little bit of your training subsidized, or anywhere in the middle. So there's a balance that we'll speak to you about. The loan officer will just get the page on an pre-agreed upon price, order, pay, and go. So in that way, we're no different than another provider that you're saying, we'd like you to utilize this provider. In some cases, it's a little stronger, where they'll say, not only would we like you to use them, but you're gonna have more training to do if you don't. Or utilize whoever you will, but we do have to be compliant as an organization and make sure you have these other pieces taken care of.
Excellent. Appreciate that feedback there, Dave. Reminder to attendees, any questions that you have for Dave, Chuck, and Tycho, now is the time to submit those through the Q&A or the chat functions. We've got about 7 minutes left here. Got a couple more questions for you, more specific to the platform itself. How do we make the mortgageeducation.com platform work if I already answered that one. Apologize. If our ops team compliance courses tracked via the mortgageeducation.com portal, in addition to what you displayed specific to MLOs.
Yes, the list on the compliance courses portal does not differentiate between loan officer or staff when you're looking at compliance courses. We have a separate screen for NMLS piece, and then everybody, the whole entire team, is listed for the compliance piece. But here's something important too. You might want your staff or pieces of your staff doing different courses. For example, you might have admins doing a certain number of courses, and we'll call that your training, training package A. Then your loan officers get theirs, training package B, and then your processors, everybody else through executives might have a different training package. So in the portal, the red X's will be in those modules that are assigned to each one of those packages. And I hope that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. And then the other question I've got here, so if we currently have a training system or program in place in-house, can your platform tools be integrated into our existing offering?
Yeah, so in that, can we integrate the platforms? Generally, the platforms for tracking you cannot, because all we can be responsible for checking up on audits, for your safety on audits, is who does training through us. However, this question comes up a lot when people don't want to make a full move. Let's say you're using somebody, you've been using them for 5 years, and you might not want to do a full onboard right now of a new vendor. You just want to maybe say, get your loan officers up and let's save them the time and money. And then it happens inevitably. By the next year, you'll onboard your full staff. So yes, in a way, what you can do is a step-by-step process. It's the reason we're offering the free premium this year. It'll give you a chance to start letting your loan officers use us for the CE with the 5 additional modules. They'll have all the loan officers who utilize us will be on our tracking, and then you can bring over the rest of the staff as you see fit. So it operates in that you don't have to choose. When you're putting on a new feature, let's say an Encompass feature into your programming, it's usually an all or nothing. Okay, here we go. We have to take it. It's full onboard of the module or of the software integration, and it has to go. You'll have 2 separate systems running, but you can actually do it on a piece-by-piece basis. As a matter of fact, one of the companies I'm working with right now, we just onboarded, they're trying with 50% of the loan officers. They're starting this year.
Wow, that's impressive. And one other question go ahead.
Oh, I saw the same question you did, Tom.
Okay.
I was about to say.
Okay, I'll verbalize it out. You guys tackle it. Will the training materials and or modules be available for review as we have state auditors requesting a copy, for their review during audit?
I'm gonna go absolutely. I'm gonna go right to Chuck on that.
Yes.
I'm gonna give him a little bit. I'll give a little bit more than the yes.
We provide syllabus and we provide PDFs of the course materials upon request for any auditor at any time.
We've been requested to do it before.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it highlights specifically which part of the law each of the modules is addressed.
Yep.
Really,
the syllabus and their cohorts, and
you actually can see exactly what it's hitting in terms of what that module and what the expectations of the module training are.
Excellent. Well, on that note, I don't have any additional questions coming in on the line. I want to, wrap today's discussion by reminding our attendees to check out the TMC Connect page for upcoming view of scheduled discussions. Also, check out the mortgageeducation.com landing page on TMC's website under our preferred partners section. Give you more details specific towards the promotion that Dave, Chuck, and Tycho referenced on today's call today. I want to thank each of you 3 gentlemen for taking the time out to present to our network and share your invaluable insights. Not lost on us how frantically busy everybody is for today in the current environment. So give you one opportunity here in case you wanted share any final remarks before we wrap today's discussion.
Yeah, one thing I would want to point out, on these landing pages that we've set up for you already, you can actually put those out right now. It's no obligation. All you're doing is essentially putting us as a list as an approved provider. Once those loan officer orders from that page, they are going to automatically be added to your portal. Whether or not we're moving forward contractually or you're doing a full onboard or not, you could literally go to the lowest point of entry, which would be just listing us as a provider and saying this is another provider you can choose from. Of course, we would love you to say this is the provider we want you to use, but we also understand people have past relationships, so you can get started that easily.
Excellent. Everybody likes when you make it easy on them. Well, again, gentlemen, thank you for the discussion today. Great call, a lot of great inquiries, and thanks to everybody on the line for joining us and sharing your inquiries for the team at mortgageeducation.com. On that note, hope you gentlemen stay well. Hope everybody stays as sane as possible, and best for a great afternoon.
All right, thanks
Tom.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.